Hello again. My name is Guy Shingleton. I'm the inventor of the Colorado Bee Vac, and I'd like to think that it's the best vacuum on the market today for capturing bees alive. I'd like to thank JP the Bee Man for helping me with the design. He was my field tester, so to speak, and this was not the first version. We started off with other types of canisters, the 5-gallon pail, all kinds of different boxes. We tried the 18-volt battery operated vacuum, just not enough power to do a removal over a period of time, and just wasn't adequate for the purposes of capturing bees. That's why we settled on this little 1.75 horse shop vac. It's small by shop vacuum standards, but it's more than enough vacuum pressure for capturing bees and doing a good job. You can even pull 20, 30, I've never tried a 40-foot hose, but 30 foot is as long as I go. But it'll provide more than adequate vacuum pressure to capture bees with that long of a hose. We did in the first demo how to initially set up the vacuum and capture your bees. What we're going to talk about now in this video is what to do with them once you get them back to the bee yard. In the box there are the instructions, so everything I'm talking about is covered in the instructions and how things are done. With that, you're vacuuming the bees into a deep catch box, and it's a 10 frame. We've adapted it for 8 frame. I'll show you that here in a moment. But in the field, especially on hot days, you might want to have more than one catch box to operate with. You'll, especially on hot days, you don't want to have so many bees in there that you stuff the box. On hot days, I also leave the vacuum on to circulate air through the catch box to keep them cool and ventilated. But changing catch boxes, it's just simply a matter of closing the door once you've filled the first catch box, how many ever bees that you want to put in the first one, and then you're just going to set the vacuum top on top of a second catch box, and you can vacuum the rest of the bees into your second catch box. I know JP and other guys who do a lot of removals have 3, 4, 5, even 6 boxes that they take with them, not only for big removals, but for capturing a number of swarms in any one day. Like myself, I'll carry 2 or 3 boxes with me during swarm season so that I can just vacuum them up. I carry them in my van the rest of the day, and when I get back to my bee yard, I put the swarms into the hive boxes that I've prepared. So we've captured the bees in our deep catch box, and we've transported it back to our bee yard. Now what do we do with them? If we're doing a removal, I transport the comb that I've removed. This is just to simulate the, usually use rubber bands to insert the comb into the frames and rubber band that together to hold them in. So I'll fill up 1, 2, 3, how many ever boxes it takes, so that I'm transporting the comb, so to speak, separate from the bees for the most part. You will have a number of bees that'll gather in this as you're inserting the frames and everything, so they just get a free ride back to the bee yard in the box itself. So when we return to the bee yard, we're going to insert the frames into the hive box. Let me talk about the 8 frame just for a moment, and then we'll talk about the 10 frame. Those of you who are out there in the beekeeping world that just use the 8 frame size, I know that there's a lot of ladies that use the 8 frame size for weight and everything else. If you purchase my vacuum and let me know that you just used the 8 frame, I'll include this simple, what I call a plywood funnel, that you can set on top of your 8 frame size box. And then when you get back to the bee yard, you're just going to set the catch box on top of that funnel, so to speak, pull the slide out, and it'll operate just as if you had a 10 frame size. I don't do an 8 frame size catch box because everyone wants as big of a catch box for their bees as possible. So even those of you who are using the 8 frame will enjoy the benefit of having the larger size to catch that big swarm or for the big removal and transporting them. So we're bringing them back to the bee yard. We'll go back to our 10 frame box now. When you get them back to the yard, you're going to take all of the comb that on a removal, you're putting that comb, taking your frames, taking them out of your box or your box that you're moving the frames in, and you're going to insert them into your 10 frame box that's waiting for them. If you're picking up swarms, you want to set up the box with perhaps comb or whatever you have available to make it more attractive for the swarm that you've caught so that they'll stay there. Maybe most of the time, not only will I put frames in there, but I'll also put a feeder in with them so that they don't have to go far. Everything possible to encourage the swarm to stay put, because as you know, there's never anything more frustrating as to go to all that effort to catch a swarm, put them in, and then just watch them fly out the bottom door and disappear again. So what we want to do is encourage the swarm, and also if you're doing the removal, to stay put in their new home. So I've captured the bees and I've transported them back to my bee yard, and I want to move them from my catch box down into the lower hive body box that I've prepared for their arrival. So I'm just going to set my catch box on top, remembering that the frames of comb that I've removed from the house or wherever it was that I removed them from, I've filled in the lower box. Or if they're a swarm, then I've added frames to the box as well as probably an inline frame feeder. I find that if the feeder is there, I have a lot more success in keeping the swarms at home. So as far as moving the bees from my catch box to the hive body box, it's just a matter of removing the slide, and I'll place the slide door on top of the catch box, because if the catch box is not dark, then they won't move down to the hive body box. So it's important whether you use the lid from the box, or you can also set your standard lid box cover on top of the catch box just to make it dark so that they'll move down. So the next day, typically I'll put them on the afternoon after returning to the yard from the removal. I'll leave them overnight and come back first thing in the morning, typically when it's still cool before they're active. The most difficult ones are the swarm. If I come back in a day or two and they haven't migrated down, I'll just tap them down out of the hive box. You don't want to leave them in the catch box too long, or else they'll start building comb right on the screen top. And so don't forget to remove your catch box, which I have done in the past, and you come back and you find out that you have more comb in your catch box than you do in the box below. So you just want to encourage them to move down. Typically, like I say, I'll put them in the bee yard that afternoon. The next morning, I'll come out first thing in the morning before they're active, remove the top, and then you just put your box back together, and you have successfully moved your bees as a swarm or from your removal back to your bee yard, and gently move them down from your catch box into the hive body box. If you have any questions, at the end of the video you'll see contact information, our telephone number, as well as our website and Facebook. We're everywhere, so just give us a call or contact by email. Be happy to answer any questions that you have about the operation. As far as the cost of the system, just give us a call and we'll give you the current pricing on the vacuum and the catch boxes. We do ship catch boxes individually in a separate box from the combination of your first vacuum and hose and everything else. So you can purchase the catch boxes individually. But thanks for watching, and thanks again to JP the Bee Man for testing. If you want to know how to do a removal correctly, check out his videos on YouTube and watch how the Bee Whisperer, which I like to refer to him as, removes hives and always catches the queen. I don't know how he does it, but he does. Give me a call if you have any questions. Be happy to talk with you. Thanks. This is Guy Shingleton. Bye-bye.